Welcome to another live episode of Halftime Adjustments. Man, you know who we are. This Eddie Arnell, my man G Witt, and Mr. J. Lou.
Tighten up, baby. Tighten up.
Fellas, what's happening?
Oh man, just trying to make it through. It was a long week.
So man, it was all the hype coming into the 2022 draft, and it was a lot to think about, right? A lot went on, and I didn't prep y'all before the show. So now that we've all had a chance to calm down and think about the events that took place in that first round, what's your first reaction to the AJ Brown trade? G Witt, hit me up. First reaction to that trade, man.
All right. So you know how I am in the offseason, man. I'm usually pretty calm and everything. I was shocked when it happened, but I also understood why. I knew it was a money deal. Now, all the stuff that's come out in afterwards, I'm sure the czar of the cap has all the inside info on that one. But I will say this, I was disappointed they couldn't get a deal done. So, but I understand why they had to do what they did. At least they got value for AJ. That's the thing I look at. And they got another receiver who may be pretty good. He's not going to be AJ. And I would advise everybody not to hold those expectations simply because they made that trade because of you. He's not going to be AJ. He's just not. He's not the same type of receiver. I mean, they're similar, but he's not the same. But I'm okay with it. I didn't like it, but I'm okay with it.
Yeah, and J. Lou, man, we was texting back and forth during the draft, man. I'm gonna tell y'all what, we were pretty much spot on with most of these moves. And I know last week J. Lou, you was like, yeah, everybody calm down. This is what it's going to take. You actually were very spot on your prediction about the contract that was going to be needed, for him to stay. You said 4 years, 91 million. Yeah, 4 years, 100 million. So, right in the ballpark. But man, your first reaction, J. Lou, to the trade of AJ Brown.
We were chatting back and forth, through my backdoor connects. I kind of text y'all before I think it came across the TV.
Right, you did.
You did.
Because we thought you were playing.
Yeah,
right?
I did too. I thought you were joking, man.
And I was like, nah. And it was a shock. So the shock factor was there. You've seen a lot of things come out. There's always three sides to every story. I think what happened, and this is just my opinion through some channels. I think once the agent really got involved is where it kind of broke down from the Titans standpoint at AJ, because I do think AJ wanted to be here, but I think that agent got in his ear. When there's smoke, there's fire. Debo been speaking the loudest, but San Francisco kept him.
Right.
He didn't go nowhere. But what it came down to was, I think the Titans, a lot of folks, you heard a lot, of fans that were angry talking about, we're poverty franchise. We don't play nobody. John Robinson don't give everybody contracts.
Not true.
Jarrell Casey got paid. Kevin Byard got paid.
Taylor
Lewan got paid.
Tannehill got overpaid.
Tannehill got overpaid. So you got to look at it as, I think this was a move where, and actually I'm going to kind of probably blame this one on two people.
Okay.
The Jacksonville Jaguars GM.
Thank you.
Because he reset the market, and that's what the Titans were trying to do. If you start looking, they were trying to get the market back in line, because some of these receivers, let's just be honest, and this is where I'm happy for AJ, because I'm glad to see a player get his bag. AJ is a $24-25 million receiver in an offense beside the Titans offense.
That's right.
He's not a $25 million receiver in the Titans offense, if that makes sense, because we're not an offense that's going to have 1,500 yard receivers. And I think he's capable of doing that. It's just how we built. So I was, shocking, but I was glad to see the draft picks we got for it. I think when we talked about it, we said he would get some value for it, like G Witt said. And I'll give my thoughts on the draft as we get into it. But overall, I feel bad for Mr. Burks. Just listening to the guy talk, we got a fine young man that's coming into the city, and he's going to need that, because from now until he gets done 3 years down the road or whatever, everybody's going to compare him over the next 3 years to AJ Brown, which is not a fair comparison.
That's right.
But I think he can come in and contribute right away.
Yeah. And my thoughts were, guys, and like I said, we were talking back and forth. I didn't like it at first. I was upset. I was sick. I was telling the guys, man, I was done, because but as I thought about it, I'm with you, G Wit. I understood why. And so you really got to think about what they did. I mean, let's just put it out there. They decided to take defense over offense, right? Because, next year, Big Jeff, David Long Jr., Amani Hooker. So you got some names there that you want to keep that core nucleus of your defense together, because now you got a defense that's proven that it can play with anybody, right? And so, and hopefully they continue to build on it in this next season. So it just came down to paying one guy the majority of your cap or keeping the guys on defense. And, even though, it's understandable, I didn't like it, I still kind of don't like it, because now you don't have a proven number one on your offense, or the offense that we all said that they needed to address the weapons, the offensive line. And yeah, Treylon Burks, unfair, like you said, J. Lou, he's going to be compared to AJ. Everything he does, everything he doesn't do, he's going to get criticized heavily, because he's supposed to be the guy now, right? And so, that was my take on it. But did they do enough to address the offense? Did they draft the future by selecting Malik Willis and Hassan, the running back out of Michigan? So let's talk about the draft, fellas. Let's talk about it. As if we already beat it to death, but let's talk about Treylon Burks a little bit. He's a good-sized kid, 6'3", 230. Depending on which information you get, it's 4'4", 4'5", type 40 guy. The guy's got hands so big that they have to make him custom gloves. So, J. Lou, talk to him about Treylon Burks, man, if you got anything else.
Treylon Burks, I mean, if you just go watch the highlight film, and again, I think, Ed, you called that pick last week. Now, we would have loved to see him paired up with AJ, but you called that pick last week because he kind of fits that big physical style of receiver. And just look at his highlight tape, he goes up and gets the ball. Right. And then, like I said, it's always something about just the character. I mean, if you look at all of J-Rob's drafts, for the most part, with the exception of Panda. I mean, everybody has one that sticks out. Right. But with the exception of Panda, this team is big on drafting character type guys. Right. And you see them drafting a lot of guys that's been playing college ball 3-4 years. If you start looking at the Titans draft, just go back to when J-Rob took over. You can always pencil in somebody who's at the Senior Bowl or any of these other bowls is somebody the Titans going to pick, because they like somebody that's done a lot of that football playing. And when you look at Burks, he played in arguably the NFL light, because that's what the SEC is. Right. And he still was dominating in that. I mean, he was on a Razorback team that went 2-7, 3-4, and I think this past year won 9 games. So I'm very excited to see him come in here. Like I said, just listening to him, I was excited to hear his first interview he did, and just how he just seems so mature coming into that position. Not the typical receiver, number one receiver, flashy type that you see. The day before the draft, this man's out in the boat fishing. Yeah. He wasn't worried about the draft at all.
He's a country boy.
Country boy. He's gonna fit
wild boars.
Wild boars and all. So very glad to see what he can do when he get on his bed. Now again, that 40 time. He's one that's similar to AJ Brown, I think, where he's not the speedster guy, but when you check tape and he's got the ball in his hands, he's getting away from DBs.
Yeah, he's got game speed.
Yeah, and G Wit, I would dare to say, until we see him on the field, I would dare to say he might be a little quicker than AJ Brown, but we'll see. But give me your take on Treylon Burks, G Wit.
Well, the thing about it is with him, he's known primarily for his yak yards. Catching the ball and getting yards after the catch. That's one of the main reasons why they looked at him and everything. Again, my question, with the loss of AJ, the bottom line is it's going to make things difficult for the offense, because they're not going to just until we prove it that we can do it with receivers. They're going to focus more on shutting down the running game like they always have, but it's going to be even more so now than they are with the passing. But Treylon Burks, man, when you saw his highlights, like I said, he was really good. A lot of yak yards. He goes for the 50-50 ball, so you like that about him. Big hands, strong hands, runs good routes. That's what you really like about him. Knows how to get open. I mean, he's got to come to the pros, learn the game, and get to the point to where he can get open in the pros. But I think we got a good value for him at 18, and I think he'll do a good job. I just, like we've been saying, he's not going to be AJ. You're not going to see him automatically take over a game like AJ did last year. But you will see him make plays. He may not be a 1,000-yard receiver, but like I said, he's going to make plays for us, and I think he's going to help out in the long run. And like you said, J. Lou, Jay Roberts done a good job of just bringing talent into the fold and good football guys. Again, like I used to say a long time ago, we had guys who were nice guys, but they didn't want to play football. Now we got football players who are nice guys, so I can deal with that. But no, I'm happy with the pick. I think he'll be a big asset. The question is going to be, in all honesty, Robert Woods. Is he going to be available? How soon will he be available? Because you're going to need him on the field to take some of the pressure off of Treylon Burks, so he can actually do some work and get open on a few occasions, because it's going to be rough on him. They're going to single cover him starting out, and then until he starts making people look like donkeys or whatever, they're going to single cover him. They're not going to double him up. He's just going to have to work hard at it.
Yeah, and like you said, I think that once we see him on the field and they get some film on him, you're right, they're going to make him work because he's a rookie and he's going to have to prove himself in the league. And I think also that's why you'll see another vet receiver being added to this roster here in the near future, like we were talking about earlier. But we'll get more into that in just a minute. But, you know, a big physical guy, you hope he can run block. They didn't say really a lot about that part of his game. But, you know, that's something we all know that he's going to have to do playing with this football team, because they're a run-first football team. And so, you know, one knock they say against him, and he primarily played in the slot, so he got to learn how to play in that X and Z position on the outside. And so, you know, we'll see. I mean, what a great pick, though. I like it. You know, big physical guy with some speed, and you know, what a better replacement. If you had to replace AJ Brown, I think we did a great job in doing that. So let's look at the second round, fellas. And so, I'm sorry, hold on. Before we do that, so we had a trade, right? We traded up to 18, and we had number 26, and we traded back and got some more picks, and then we go to the second round, and Roger McCreary, DB Auburn. G, what you got on Mr. McCreary?
You know, that was the one that I kind of questioned, in all honesty. You know, yeah, he's played a lot in the SEC, and he's gone against the Alabama receivers. He's gone against the Georgia receivers and everything. He's a little bit too grabby for me as far as a corner is concerned, and he doesn't. And I would say this: he does not have makeup speed. You know, if he gets beat off the line, then he does not have makeup speed to get back into the mix. He's generally pretty good. Now, he's sticky now, don't get me wrong. If somebody's going to be running like crossings or whatever, he's pretty sticky. He can stay with that. But if he gets beat off the line on a deep route and everything, he's not going to be able to make that up. And, you know, I'm watching some of his highlight films and everything. He's typical of a lot of, especially a lot of press corners coming out of college. They tend to have a tendency of turning the wrong way on the move, similar to what Malcolm Butler was doing when he was here, always turning the wrong way. And then, you know, as well as I do, in the NFL, you turn the wrong way, that's a catch. You know, you done gave up the yardage and everything. So he's got a lot to learn. I think he can be good. I think they might look at him as somebody who could actually come in and fill in a little bit for what Dane Cruikshank was doing for slot receivers and tight ends maybe. But that one's a little iffy for me.
What about you, Jay Lucas? I think I know why, but I'm interested in see what you got to say.
Yeah, so this was the only one that I thought was a reach. I like the player. I thought the pick at 35 was a reach. One thing I'll give him is I think his last year of playing college ball, the defensive coordinator switched to more of a zone. So for him to go from, as G was saying, man and press for the first couple of years into zone, nice little transition there. This pick is not about this player, about Roger though. To me, this pick is more about the pick from last year, Mr. Caleb Farley. Yeah, because picking a DB this high, to me symbolizes that this is the backup plan in case Caleb isn't quite ready to go come September. And I think the Titans, I think they feel that. Now, again, if it hits, if Caleb comes back great and this one hits, then you got 4 stud DBs for the next 4 years that has your DB room set. I mean, has them set for the next 3 years. So I think, and that's why I think the Titans went with him at number 35. I mean, which is, again, number 35 is what, the third pick in the second round. I think that's why they went as high as they did on him, because this is somebody that, let's just be honest, we probably could see starting this come fall if Caleb Farley is not healed up enough to and ready to go as they think.
Okay. So great points by both of you. Let me throw something else on top of that. So, Caleb Farley, the insurance policy, if you will, on that. So let's think about it for a minute, guys. who's going to take that role of tight end eraser of Cruciate? So maybe Molden. Maybe this is a pick that, hey, we put Molden on the tight ends because he's the type of guy, he's intelligent, he's awareness on the football, right, on the field. He understands coverage. And you drafted a guy that's got some pretty good speed. He's a big guy. He's 6 foot. He's got long arms. You know, he's 190 pounds. And he's grabby. He gets beat, but you know, play him in a slot in a zone type coverage, and you put Molden on the tight end, or you can even put this kid on the tight end. You know, he's a big kid. So that's the way I look at it. Two guys, a backup for Farley if he's not ready to go, and then somebody else that we can potentially throw in there. We run a 2 or 3 safety concept on defense to cover the Kittles and folks of that nature. So
and the Kelce's and everything,
and the Kelce's, But I agree with you, J. Lou. Probably a reach, but I understand why. Because they got to find that guy that can put the lockdown on the tight end. You know, AFC got tight ends below. I mean, you got a lot of good tight ends everywhere. So
you got tight ends and quarterbacks. So right. I mean, you got to think we're running 70% of our defense is going to be out of nickel with that third DB like that. So I mean, that's. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, because you got Knox at Buffalo, you know, the team. You got Kelsey at Kansas City. The teams that's been going to the AFC Championship game. You got the tight end for the Raiders, Farley, Waller. There you go.
Yeah.
And so you got a lot of guys, man, that you're gonna need to match up with. Even though Molden is shorter, but I still see where they were thinking in that particular case.
Yeah.
So third round, I think Nicholas Pettit Ferrer, I guess I pronounced his name wrong. I'm sorry if I did. Offensive tackle, Ohio State. I think this is a reach, man, because this is a project, right? He's a guy that really didn't play a lot of football in high school, and then comes out and then I don't know, Jay Lee, what do you think, man? It's just I think this might have been a reach for this guy.
So, everybody's this is going to be my pet peeve for the whole year. So let me go ahead and get that out. We always talk about there's always at least one stubborn part between J-Rob and Vrabel.
Right.
They are sold on the offensive line because they didn't really draft anybody. Now, I think this guy, I've been going back and forth about this pick, and he's probably more natural for right tackle than left in the NFL right now.
Right.
And you could probably afford to make him a project at right tackle. Because I think Taylor can give you another year or two anyway. So if this pick to me in my head today is one that says he's coming in to compete for right tackle, and I feel like the Titans think that Dillon is more solidified to play guard, is what I'm thinking now, is that you see Dillon move to either that left guard or right guard spot. And this guy comes in and I know what Vrabel said about the young guy we got from Seattle, but I think just picking a swing, because again, this is a swing tackle,
right?
Left and right tackle. So again, you could be preparing for the future, but I think if we see him on the field and how I think they will develop him this year, it'll be right tackle. I mean, a big guy and all, but like you said, he's got some work. I think there was a couple other offensive linemen you probably could have got at this pick, but I think this pick just puts some confidence in what you already got in offensive line, which again, you didn't address it in the first round. You didn't address it in the second, like everybody thought you would address. Now, granted, the way the board fell, and I think that's why part of the AJ trade happened when it happened at 18 is because if you notice, it was one of them linemen went right at 17, and another one was like at 14 or 15. So at that point, you go to the receiver. But I think we love picking projects on the offensive line. Let's just hope that this one can work out.
G. Witt, this guy was a 5-star recruit in basketball. So he's got some athleticism. He's 6'5", he's got long arms, he's 310. One thing I do like what they said about him is that if he gets the right offensive line coach, they can coach him up.
Yeah.
And so you might see this guy at right tackle.
Yeah.
G. Witt.
Yeah, I think that's mainly what they're looking at him for anyway. If nothing else to add some depth to the right tackle position. J. Lou, I may have to disagree with you. I think they may be seriously considering your boy Dillon to go at right tackle. I don't know if it will happen or not, but I think that's what they're trying to do. But this guy, the one thing you like about him, he's a road grader, good run blocker. The thing that's bad about him is that he's not good in pass pro. Right. If you saw the game against Michigan or some of them other big games, he got pretty much abused, so that's going to be the issue. Like you said, he's a project, but can they develop him, and here's the key for him too. Does he have the willingness to be developed?
Right.
That's going to be the key for him. Like you said, Eddie, he was a 5-star recruit in high school and everything, and he's got a lot. But he hasn't played a whole lot of ball. So the key is going to be he's going to have to be willing to learn, and he's going to be on the back burner for a while. That's the bottom line. But again, this is one of those picks for J-Rob. Like we were saying earlier before the draft, he's building for the future. Right. He's building for the future. So he's hoping he's going to get something out of this that everybody's not expecting.
Yeah, and for the bad that J-Rob has done in the draft, he's also found some diamonds in the rough. When we talk about it all the time, David Long Jr., I can't say that enough. 6th-round pick, and he's starting in the NFL and trending towards making a lot of money in his career, right? So, and this guy from Ohio State just won his starting job in 2020. So you think about it, he's really only started for 2 years. Yeah. And so that's where the inexperience is. But he's explosive out of his stance and a good run blocker, like you said, G-Wit. And so with a finisher's mentality. And so, man, they like that type of mentality, especially on the offensive line, man. You get you a guy that's mean, that's physical, and just get after it. And that's the type of players that Vrabel likes on this team. Yeah. And so here's the second, 3rd-round pick. And so, fellas, I called it early. Yeah. But I called. And so got a question here from Will. And Will, this is your pick, man. He says, is Malik Willis the answer for the future at quarterback? Malik Willis, pick number 86 in the 3rd round, quarterback out of Liberty University. G-Wit, talk to me about Mr. Willis, man.
Oh, okay. Again, we're talking about projects, so this is definitely one of those. Here's the thing about it. And this is, I'm not knocking this pick one bit. I really am not. Mm-hmm. As far as arm talent in the draft, he had the best arm talent. The question is, can you get him to play at the NFL level? Mm-hmm. Everybody was making a big deal about because he played at a small school and they ran a simple offense. Is he going to be able to come in, read defenses or whatever? You got at least 1 year behind Ryan Tannehill, where he has an opportunity to put in the work, learn how to read defenses, learn how to make those intermediate throws on time with anticipation. All of that stuff. He has a lot of work he's going to have to do. I think they have an opportunity with him, but again, I said it the other night. It's all about what the coaches are going to be able to do. Right. They have, Pat O'Hara's got to coach him up. He's got to drill him on, throwing with anticipation and getting the ball out quick and making those right throws. Now, you talking about throwing a deep ball?
Oh yeah.
The man throws a beautiful deep ball. And I really enjoy seeing that at the combine. He was the Josh Allen of the combine this year, throwing that deep ball. Everybody was just blown away. But I know he can run, and I know people starting to do these comparisons to Steve McNair, but he's not the same. And I just think what you're going to see here is that it's going to be a project. You're not looking for him to get any space time this year. He's going to be inactive for most of the season, I would think. So we're going to be, if something happens to Tannehill, we're going to be seeing a lot of Logan Woodside because they just waived Kevin Hogan. So
right.
You only got the 3. So he's going to be inactive for most of the season, but he gets an opportunity to get some work. And I think if they can develop him, he might end up being the steal of the draft.
Can he beat out Logan Woodside, Deion's boy? And Deion's not even on here tonight. I was waiting for him to say somebody.
He can't beat out Logan Woodside. That ain't gonna happen.
J. Lou, talk to you about Mr. Willis, man. 60 touchdowns in his career and only started for 2 years. Of course, he started at Auburn and he transferred. But talk to you about Mr. Willis, man.
I like the pick. I think the theme of this draft was a competitive rebuild. Usually when you hear teams talking about rebuilding, that means they're going to be trash. Mm-hmm. I don't see this Titans team being trash. First of all, with Vrabel being the coach. And even though we're going to be a little behind on offense, we've all said last year, defense can win you games.
Right.
Not to bring up bad memories from January, but if Tannehill don't throw 3 picks, it's a different story. Because, the defense had 11 sacks, 9 that counted, but 11 sacks. So this defense barring injury, of course, injury changes all the NFL. But
That's
barring injury, this defense should only be better than it was last year.
Absolutely.
So I think, and so that's why I say you see a competitive rebuild on the offensive side. G Wit, you talk about all the time Fisher ball, and I think them early Titans teams was a lot of Fisher ball. I think we'll see a different style of Fisher ball with the offense this year, but it'll be those close games. I mean, we have the offense potential that you don't want to be in a close game in the fourth quarter with us, and I think our defense can keep us in. As far as Willis, I agree, but slightly agree with G Wit a little bit. I think he'll be inactive the first month of the season. Then I think you see them start giving him small packages. Like I think you see some I don't want to call it gadget plays because he's not a gadget quarterback, but I think as he learns a little bit more and gets a little bit more comfortable, I think you start seeing him, if not only for anything, Tannehill, this pick lets Tannehill know. We said we wanted somebody to come in here and push him. He's on a short leash. Now Tannehill holds, I'm not going to say he holds all the cards because anything's possible, but they're not going to eat $57 million, I don't think. But he knows that he's in a Tannehill to me is in a proven year now. And he's not trying to prove it to the Titans. He's trying to prove it to that next contract that he's going to sign because his replacement, if everything works out, is on the team. And I'll tell you that the one thing that I was excited outside of the deep ball for Willis, what I'm excited about with his pick is the run game.
Yes.
Because he's not Mariota. And even though Mariota had some wheels on him, to me, looking at him run, not to compare again, I don't, but he's got some similarities there to Michael Vick and Lamar Jackson when you talk about speed and inabilities to tackle him in open field. Mm-hmm. And that does nothing but open up the run game. So I think, and that's why I say you might see some small packages, if anything, to run the ball, because I think him being in the backfield, now you kind of loosen up against Derrick Henry a little bit because this guy, Mr. Willis, can take off and he's down the field. But to G Witt's point, who's our passing game coordinator we brought in? Can't remember his name. Tim Kelly. I think about the work that he did with Davis Mills out there in Stanford. And again, Davis Mills was probably a little bit further ahead than Willis, but he had Davis Mills to the point to where the Texans didn't even draft or bring in a quarterback because that's what they rolled with this year. And he balled out. So I'm confident that between him and Pat O'Hara that they probably can get him up to speed enough. And we already know we got a simple playbook as is. So that's not gonna be no problem for him.
Yeah,
man. You know, Jay Lee, man, you stole all my thunder, man. Because I was gonna say the same thing about Davis Mills, but good point, man. Good observations there. And I like Willis too. As like I said, we were talking about it, and the possibility of him being drafted. Because like you said, Tannehill, whatever you say, regardless of what you say, this is last year for the Titans. Regardless of what you say, I don't see a scenario where he's back in 23. I don't. Not right now. Now I could be wrong. Hey, I've been wrong a lot of times in my life, and this won't be the first time. It's but I just don't see it happening. I do like. So look at Willis though. Y'all talked about it. A big arm. He can move, right? He can run the bootleg action. He can run play action, right? Look at the quarterbacks in the AFC that we are comparing to, that we have. All of them are mobile to an extent, right? And so that is the new game for the quarterbacks in the NFL. You got to be able to be mobile. Except you Tom Brady. Tom Brady is this Tom Brady. He's like Michael Jackson in the NFL. I mean, Michael Jordan, excuse me, for the NFL. And so other than that, you got a lot of guys that's mobile and they can move the pocket and get around and run. And so, this is the trend for the new quarterback in NFL going forward. So, hey, I like the pick. I agree. He's a project. And I agree with Taylor that, the draft class will be only as good as the coaches are coaching them up.
Absolutely.
Taylor has a perfect comment because Todd Downey's on notice too.
Yeah,
I was going to say that.
This is where the Titans have got to be like some of those teams you just named. They got to find a way to make the offense fit Willis's needs for him to be successful, not try to make him fit Todd Downey's offense. So this is where Todd Downey's on notice.
So, again, just my thinking, this might be Downey's last year too. So, if they go,
he's on the clock too.
Right. If they go away from Tannehill and they decide, hey, we gave Willis a year to sit in, let's get him going to the field the next year, then I think you see that move because they're going to have to change the offense to your point, J. Lou. And so, no, fourth round, man. So, J-Rob did a good job. Although he traded A.J. Brown, he got a lot of draft capital. So we had 6, then we had 10, after all the trades. And so is Hassan Haskins the heir apparent? to the king. 4th round, 131, running back out of Michigan. Big physical kid, 6'1", 220. J. Lou, is this the new? Is this the new? Is this the new?
So he's coming to a perfect situation to learn behind the king. He's basically a cheaper version of Foreman. If you want to look at it that way, we lost Foreman. Everybody was talking about that, and I think what this pick did to me, and it showed to me that I think you saw the Titans realize that 1-2 punch they could have had with Henry and Foreman worked, and they went away from getting a change of pace back because we've been flaming out on these change of pace backs, and they didn't do that this time. Right. But I really like Haskins. Now he's not a speed guy, not gonna hit the home run, but he's gonna try to run somebody over, and he's gonna hit the hole. Again, what better team and better person? I can see Derrick Henry taking him under his wing, and that's all you ask Derrick Henry to do for him. Now I do think having this type of back goes back to what we talked about last week, where if he could come in and is not the typical rookie running backs we've seen for the Titans and can really contribute, then I think this buys you some time where September and October, Derrick Henry ain't got to have 500, 600 carries, and you can wing him on through the rest of the year. So that's what you're banking on this pick, is that you got somebody who, played NFL style ball up there with Harbaugh in Michigan with his offensive system he ran. You can bring him in and he can spell. All we're asking him to do is spell Henry 10 to 15 plays a game. If the first half of the season, you can have Derrick Henry about 20 to 22 carries, no more than 25, then that gets you where you're taking some wear and tear off him. Again, he's coming off a injury. Now, granted, it was a bone and not, ligament or tissue, the first injury in his career. But if you could cut those carries down in these hot months, this does nothing but makes him ready in November and December to carry on. So I like the pick of Haskins.
Yeah, and I do too. And Taylor makes another good point. Appreciate the comments, Taylor. He's a Big Ten back. He's straight ahead runner with his pad level low. And so, G Witt, it's a great pick. He's not a fast guy, like you said, J. Lou, but he runs between the tackles very well. And G Witt, let me hear your assessment of Mr. Haskins. Excuse me.
Haskins, yeah. Well, I'm with both of you. I really like the pick. And when I saw it happen, I was like, that was a great pickup, especially in the 4th round. I watched him a few times this past season. I would say this: he's not the fastest guy, but his speed is deceptive. Right. If you get him out in the open field, he's got a little bit more speed than what you expect him to have. Again, runs between the tackles well, has a good stiff arm, knows how to get to the end zone, has a good nose for the goal line. Mm-hmm. I love the pick. I thought that was a great pick by J-Rob to get him in. I think, again, it's another guy that is going to contribute. I think what you're going to see, J. Lou, hopefully they probably want to get him more than just 10 or 12 carries in a game. They want him to take series, to be able to take the ball down the field. And that takes, again, like you said, takes the wear and tear off of Derrick Henry, because they're gonna need the king at the end of the season. Right. And again, what it also does is when you bring him in, it keeps the running game legitimate. You have, and that's the main thing you need. You need that running game to be legitimate, to keep a lot of pressure off of Tannehill. Again, we're going to go back to our same issue we had last year. The question is going to end up being, is Todd Downing going to change his stripes and start running more play action? Right. Because you got 2 power backs that can get you yardage. Are you going to start running more play action and using that running game to get your quarterback more time to make decisions and get the ball downfield?
Right. And we were saying that after A.J. Brown was traded in the 1st round, we said, well, Derrick Henry had at least 500 carries by week 2. So, yeah. But now that, Mr. Haskins is in the fold, I like it just like you guys, man. 1,288 yards rushing last season with 20 touchdowns. Of course, he scored 5 touchdowns against Ohio State in that game. And so, it was I think it was a great pick, a good sized kid. Not a whole bunch of speed, but to your point, he runs between the tackles and he runs hard. And that's a fair comparison, Foreman. That's a fair comparison to Deontay Foreman as far as his run style. I'm about to really jack this name up, so I'm gonna apologize, but it's this tight end out of Maryland, Chigozium Okunwa. That's tight end. And so this is a pretty interesting pick too, fellas. And I'm gonna tell you why because, you know, me and Jay Lou was talking about it. He is another tight end built up like Jonnu Smith. He is a powerful guy. Rocked up physique is what they call him. Powerful lower half, you know, athletic explosiveness. You know, he's 6'3" and ran a 4.52 in the 40, 30, 35 and a half inch vertical. And so, you know, you got another guy like Jonnu Smith, G Witt, that, you know, possibly can contribute right away behind Austin Hooper.
Yeah, and that's one reason why they grabbed it too. The question is going to be for him more than anything else is his blocking ability. Right. How well he blocks. Now, starting out, they're going to use him like they did Jonnu. They're going to have him, you know, line up on the outside a little bit to get those, to be another slot receiver or whatever the case may be. But that's going to be the key for him. How well is he going to be able to block? Because the thing that we're missing with our tight ends, they can say all they want to about Jeff Swain. He is not a consistent blocker. And he drives all three of us crazy when we watch replays. I'm like, dude, right. You just keep whipping on these.
With that head down.
Yeah, but that's gonna be the key. I mean, he's got good speed and everything. He's got fairly decent hands. That's the other thing I'm gonna be looking for as well. How good are his hands? I don't know if he was at the combine or not.
He was, G. And I was about to say, drill that you'd like to see when they run down the line catching the ball.
Yeah,
he caught every ball. Yeah, he caught every ball in his gauntlet.
Yeah, the gauntlet. Yeah. So if he got good hands, man, he's going to get used a lot. And again, you're going to see Jeff Swain just become a blocking tight end in line and everything. But I just don't. That's going to be the key. How quickly can he adapt to blocking? And if that's the case, then he's going to get a lot of playing time because, like you said earlier, we put a premium on tight ends and wide receivers blocking.
Right, we do, and we got some guys that's going to have to prove early that they can block to get on the field. And, you know, something they said about him, Jay Lou, that he's not long, and so his inline blocking is inconsistent. So they were saying more of like an H-back type move, and I can see that happening, especially with Blasingame gone, and the receiving option we had out of him. And so, you know, what do you think about this pick, Jay Lou?
You're mute.
Can you hear me? Oh, yeah, he's muted.
My bad. I hit the wrong button. Yeah, okay. I was saying, Ed, you said I took your thunder early. You just took mine. I was going to say, from a blocking standpoint, they're going to use him more as an H-back, I think, than anything. I love this pick. This is actually probably my favorite pick of the draft. And as crazy as it sounds, but I think he's someone that comes in. The tight end room was trash last year. Let's just be honest.
Yes.
It was trash.
Yes.
And I think this was a move where, again, J-Rob, to his credit, he tries his best to right his wrongs. He realized he probably should have tried to do everything he could to keep Jonnu Smith. Let me find somebody close to him, because that in itself is a great security blanket for Tannehill as well, because he's a mismatch when we just talked about the tight ends in the league, and not every team has a Cruikshank type safety that can shut down the tight end. So you put him out in the slot or coming out of the H-back on a play action. I mean, just think about the few past play action plays that we did run the Blasingame, and you put this big guy to run them now. Hey, that is a mismatch waiting to happen. So, you know, I agree. We know the first thing they're gonna learn in rookie minicamp in 2 weeks is how to block. We all know Vrabel will have him out there doing that. But I think this is somebody that we see contribute a lot in the fall, and he could probably be the sneaky pick. I think out of all of our rookies, he probably could be the one that we see contribute a lot and really stand out this first year, given the position. Because Hooper, I think he's in a prove-it year. You know, he had a down year, the team he was on last year, but so everybody's hoping he revert to Cleveland, which if he can revert to Cleveland and we get this tight end to be to his potential, then we have a dangerous 12 personnel again. We go with two tight ends.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, and so another thing about this pick, you know, he was honorable mention, all Big Ten, set career highs of 52 receptions, 447 yards, and 5 touchdowns and 13 starts. And so he even had some rushes while he was there at Maryland. So, you know, very versatile guy, good size kid, 6'2.5", 238, and it looks like he's got some pretty good hands, G Witt. And so it's going to be very interesting to see who gets that tight end number 2. Will it be Swain or will it be the rookie? So we'll see, because like you said, Jay Lou, the tight end room was trash last year, and so they had to add some depth to it to try to make ends from last season, and then previously not keeping Jonnu Smith. So back to the 6th round, because there was no 5th round pick. Theo Jackson Db out of Tennessee, a hometown kid. J. Lou, hometown.
Sure, right down the street at good old Overton. Right. I think Mr. Theo is the Cruikshank replacement. I know what we said about Roger, but
right.
I think this is the Cruikshank replacement. Not only for the safeties, but this is your day one gunner on special teams. Just remember you heard that. Yeah. I think that's what they drafted him for. Very, very got some good speed on him, good arms. I mean, he played at UT, so played in the SEC again, which, again, when you start looking at this draft, we took all Power 5 schools.
Right.
I think what you see with a lot of this draft, J-Rob probably was – J-Rob to me seemed like one of the GMs that was happy that COVID was over. For the COVID restrictions were over on the draft, because this draft has a very, very good feeling like the 2019 draft, where you saw that was the last normal draft that we had. But good hometown guy. They had a good visit with him when he had the local visit. And again, I think this is a steal of a 6th round, especially if he comes in and he fits that Cruikshank role like we expect. Then you got you a steal in the 6th round.
Yeah.
Talk about G Wick.
Well, no, I was going to agree. I'm not going to say it. My main thing is, in all honesty, from what I saw on film clips and everything, this guy, he's an aggressive tackler. He can cover. He's aggressive when the ball is in the air. And that's the one thing you want to see out of a DB. You want to see them be aggressive with the ball in the air. He's either knocking it away, intercepting it, or he's making the tackle. One of the three, which is all you want to see out of him. But I really don't know a lot about him, but I did see that he played a lot of special teams. I agree with you, J. Lou. If he could turn into that gunner like Cruikshank was on special teams, that's who we need. Because, again, our special teams without Cruikshank was very poor on coverage, but with him in there running, we got improvement on coverage. So I think with him being there, I think if he can develop into that and also develop into the one who's going to be covering the tight ends and everything, he's good in coverage. So I like the pick, and I'll leave my other comments to the side because you guys know where I stand on some things, but But in all honesty, seriously, I think he's a good pick, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he's going to be able to do.
I forgot to mention the receiver we picked up out of UCLA, and I apologize for that.
Everybody's forgetting about him, man.
But we think he might be a great pickup, though. And Jay Luke, go ahead and talk to the people about him, because I forgot to mention him. I overlooked him in the draft parts in the order. And so UCLA, Kyle. And what does he bring to the table as a potential slot receiver for the Titans?
He's a younger version of Adam Humphries from the film I've seen on that. He's a younger. I mean, because he put a few guys. He's got great ability on the highlights I've seen of stopping his feet and making a good move, a quick move. Because he had a couple DBs. I think the DB that went to Houston, they showed a highlight of that. He put him on skates. So he's definitely Adam Humphries 2.0, which we've been missing. Again, the Titans, everybody, we've always said we need a speedster receiver. This offense is not built for that. I mean, we got the Cam Batsons of the world and the guy that we let go to Chicago last year that, we let him go deep every now and then. But this offense is built for a good slot receiver that if we need 3rd and 9, they're 10 yards down, catching the ball, getting down and going. And we missed that once Humphries, got hurt due to his injuries or whatnot. So I hate that we forgot about the guy from UCLA.
I know, man.
I really think he's going to be a decent player. He's a player that fits this style of offense for what we want to do in our passing game.
The key for him, though, man, in all honesty, if we get a chance to see him in practice or get to see him, on the field or whatever in preseason games, I just want to see how he runs his routes.
Yes.
Because that's the main thing. Because one thing about Adam Humphries that you really like, he had great feet in route running. I mean, he threw head fakes and everything, could always get open on seam routes and things of that nature. If he could come in there and be that, and be consistent, because the problem you had with Adam Humphries, he just couldn't stay on the field. He kept getting hurt. But if he can stay on the field and play and make yards after the catch, You talking about you exactly right. You're talking about somebody. Kyle Phillips is going to be somebody that we're going to see on the field quite a bit. Who's going to be in those short yardage situations or those, like you said, third downs where you need 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9. He gets you 3rd and 10, 3rd and 11. That's what he's going to be able to do.
Right. And so just a little bit more information. I do apologize once again because he was our 5th round pick. I overlooked him, and I'm sorry. But so 3rd straight year leading the Bruins in catches, 59 catches for 739 yards, 10 touchdowns in 11 games with 9 starts. He also returned punts, so that might be something else we can see out of this young man. Slot guy. He has good foot quickness to elude press coverage underneath. And so this is what I really like. Go ahead.
UCLA, is that Chip Kelly offense?
No, Jim Moore.
Jim Moore. Okay, Jim Moore. So again, another NFL type pro-style offense.
Yeah.
Right. And so quick lateral footwork to elude press, tricks up his sleeve to manipulate breakpoint coverage. And so, and then they had to put in here that he beat Derek Stingley Jr., which was like the 3rd pick of the draft. And
that's the one.
For a touchdown.
Go watch that highlight because he put him on some skates.
Right. And so, great pickup. I think, like you said, that he'll be our 3rd guy in the slot, and put him alongside Treylon Burks and Robert Woods. And, Robert Woods is already a route technician. And if you can get this guy to be a route technician too, you got a pretty good core there with Austin Hooper and the other tight end from Maryland. I'm not gonna jack his name up again, which y'all know who he is. Okunway. So appreciate that. And so as we go on in the draft, thank y'all for joining us for another episode of Halftime Adjustment. Chance Campbell, number 6 out of Ole Miss. J. Lou, this guy's pretty interesting, really. You think about it.
Yeah, this is the first pick that I see on our list that we took that I think he was drafted for special teams need. Now, again, he's got some depth because we talked about we need a little depth at linebacker, but I think they're good with it coming back. But, he's a solid tackler, a tackle machine or whatnot at Ole Miss. Deceptive speed is what I'll say in the field. Good speed in the field. So I think this is a project at linebacker. Like, we shouldn't expect him to come in starting linebacker. But again, as G. Wood has pointed out, this is somebody on that kickoff coverage or punt coverage that you need somebody who can get down the field and make the tackle to make the tackle. I think this is where you can see him contribute, and then on the backside be a nice spell guy if one of the linebackers do need a breather.
Right. And he was all Big Ten. He transferred to Ole Miss and led them in tackles with 109, 12.5 tackles for loss, 6 sacks. And so he's active, right? He's in the backfield a lot, and a former lacrosse player, G. Witt.
Okay. But no, I agree with you totally. I think he's got deceptive speed. He might end up being, just a straight up box linebacker making tackles in the middle. I agree with you as far as special teams. They're going to need him to be somebody. I can't remember the guy from last year, Cole, who came down and
Cole Dillon
wood on somebody and caused a big fumble and all that. That's what they're going to be looking for out of him. To come down and lay the wood, put people down, cause turnovers, get us the ball. Like you said, his speed is deceptive. Again, I think if you notice something about these picks that J-Rob did this year, they got game speed. They don't have 40 times speed. They have game speed. Mm-hmm. It's just like Treylon Burks. His game speed is better than his 40 time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think that's what you're going to see out of a lot of these picks is just that their game speed, when they're in the game, is a lot faster and a lot quicker than their 40 times. 40 times are okay. If you're a receiver running a 4.5, chances are in the game with the excitement and the adrenaline flowing, you're running a 4.4. You're running a 4.46 or something like that. Mm-hmm. Same thing with DBs. If you're running a 4.5, you're going to be running a 4.4 in game speed. So it's just going to be one of those things where we got to wait and see. But I think, in all honesty, and we'll go back to the very beginning, what you guys said. One thing J-Rob did this year, we said at the beginning, it's a build your team draft.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a lot of depth and a lot of positions all the way through the draft. And I think what he did was, it started with the A.J. Brown trade. He picked up draft picks to build the team. Like you said, a strategic rebuild is what he's doing. So I'm just waiting to see who he signs as undrafted free agents. And we might have one of the most interesting camps we've had in a long time.
I will get into those because the name on that list, G, what I want to bring up to you to see
I know which name you're gonna bring up, and I can't wait to see G Witt's reaction.
So yeah, Will, I agree with you, man. The receivers after Woods are, they got to prove it, right? He says they're trash, and right now the wide receiver room does not look too appetizing. I would say it that way. Racing McMath, Nick Westbrook-Akini. He's proved it last year. Dez Fitzpatrick, what are we gonna get out of him this year? Coley Hollister, Mason Kinsey. So Josh Malone, we signed him as a free agent. So what are they gonna bring to the table during the season?
I got a gremlin in my screen.
I agree with you. Taylor, that drafting for special teams is very smart. So we do got to find a way to get another punter on this football team. We got to find a way to get another punter, add to this team, and get some youth because we just don't know what's gonna come to the table.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the undrafted free agents real quick. We're not gonna spend a lot of time on it. We will talk about them later on as they go through mini camps and as we get up to the lead of camp. But G Witt, there is a name on the list of undrafted free agents. He is a second. San Diego State University, Michael Griffin II.
And he's DB.
Is that the heir apparent to Michael Griffin? Because his name is Michael Griffin Jr. II. I mean, Michael Griffin II. So
no, they said so. Everybody kept asking. There's no relation between him and 30.
Well, that's the first positive in the bank.
I just thought that was funny when I saw it, man.
I was looking for that list, man. I couldn't find it, man. Where'd y'all find the list? I was looking for that.
Don't worry, G Witt. He's going to wear number 33.
Right. He's going to wear 33.
If he wears number 33, he's not going to make it out.
Will says he thought that was Clowney on your screen, G. so fellas,
Clowney has proven me right once again. He still hasn't signed with anybody. Right. Nobody's offered him any money. So
he'll wait till the middle of the season to sign somebody.
Oh yeah, and then go out there and do nothing. But anyway,
did they do enough, guys, on offense? Do they do enough? Do they add another tackle, or do they really believe in Dillon as the right tackle? J. Lou, I mean, what do you think, man? Have they done enough at this point right now? You got to consider what happened in the offseason as far as free agency went. They brought in Jamarico Jones from Seattle. They drafted the kid at Ohio State. You got Aaron Brewer's coming back, Nate Davis, Ben Jones. You got those guys. You got Aaron Brewer, potentially the left guard starting, and they got Dillon at right tackle potentially. But did they do enough on the offensive line to make you say, hey, this offensive line is going to be better in 2022?
Yeah. I'm going to say no on paper, but we know how good paper is. I mean, when you look at it, I don't think the offense is as good on paper right now as it was this time last year.
I agree.
Again, remember, Julio got added after the draft anyway.
Yep.
So I feel like you're still at square one where we were at last year, with the exception of the offensive line is probably taking a step back, which you're losing Saffold and right tackle has been an open spot anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I like the method of what did I call it earlier? Competitive rebuilding. Because again, you think about the teams, the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Jets, all these teams that won the NFL draft because they picking at the top of the draft and they're rebuilding coming off 3-14 4-win seasons.
Mm-hmm.
The Titans to me are rebuilding the offense, but I still can see this team pulling out 10 to 11 games because you have a defense that, again, I think is going to be a top 5 defense in the league.
Right.
If again, health plays into it, of course, but if you can get right now, the only weakness I see on defense would probably be cornerback. And it's only because of the unknown. Right. But if your front seven's only going to be healthier, as you notice, they didn't pick up an edge rusher. Now they signed 1 or 2, I think, on the undrafted free agents. But they didn't pick up an edge rusher because you got Weaver coming back. They really like what they saw to Monty Rice using him in that position as well.
Mm-hmm.
So if your front 7 in the defense can just keep you in the games and the offense don't turn the ball over, you can win in the NFL. So I think this was again, after the shock factor, you went into the draft with 6 picks. You came out with 9, if I'm not mistaken. You traded one of the trades for AJ. You traded to go up and get Malik Willis, which I thought was a fascinating pick. And you kind of saw the willing and dealing on this team. This team right here, this team was building, as G. Witt said, for 2 years to 3 years down the road. Because everybody on this list, you don't have to worry about paying until 3-4 years from now. And I'll, now I was shocked until I found some information, because we were talking about Willis, and when you look at everything, everybody thought he'd go in the first round, and we traded that 26th pick. When I dug in is to the cap situations, it's kind of smart for him not to take that quarterback in the first round, because you have to have that 5th-year option, which is fully guaranteed. So if you look at the situation that the Cleveland Browns found themselves in right now, and the Carolina Panthers. Carolina Panthers picked up Sam Darnold's 5th-year option before they even seen him play. You stuck with him, and then that's why Cleveland stuck. So it was kind of smart to get him on a 4-year deal, and you can work something out right there if he pans out. So I thought that was kind of fascinating. But it'll be interesting. You still got some names out there, and another little tidbit for you all out there. You will see a lot of veteran free agents signed starting tomorrow at 3 p.m. You may ask yourself, why? Well, tomorrow at 3 p.m., they no longer count against the 2023 compensatory picks for the draft. So you'll see a lot of those folks, they'll start signing free agents because they know they will give that other team a draft pick going forward. And there's a lot of veteran names still on here. I still think you see us add a veteran wide receiver. I do still think you should add a veteran offensive lineman or two. Because I think in their head, they're solidified on about 3.5 of the starters. Or if you include them really feeling comfortable about Dylan, but I could see you adding 2 there. And then on defensive side of the ball, you might be adding depth at the linebacker. I still think we could go another linebacker or 2 just for depth, but they're really banking on the defense carrying this team and the offense coming along.
Gee whiz, did they do enough on offense to make you feel like this team can make another run to the Super Bowl? Or to the Super Bowl, I said not to.
Well, I would say this, and I go back to when John Robinson first got here. One of the things he always said, his goal was building the team to compete for championships.
Right.
And you don't compete for championship just for 1 year. So I think what he's done to go with what Jay Lou said, a strategic rebuild. I think he's done really good with that. I don't think he's done enough on the offense, not in my eyes, to have us, I'm going to say the same or even better. I think one of the things you're going to find that they're working on this year is Vrabel's definitely going to be working on eliminating turnovers.
Right.
Because when you think about it, you go back and look at last season, the games we lost is because of multiple turnovers. Way too many turnovers. So that's what he's going to be working on. But at the same time, I thought they would address the offensive line more in the draft, but they didn't. I think, like what you said, Jay Lou, they may be picking up free agents and bringing them in to see if they'll work. But it's just one of them things on offense, man. It's just a hit and miss thing, really, right now, because I'm gonna be honest with you, we don't know what the King's gonna be like.
Right.
We don't know. I mean, he's working out and he posted a few videos, but he hasn't posted any videos of him running.
Right.
So we don't know what the King is going to look like when he comes back. Like you said, Jay Lou, first injury, and it was a broken bone in his foot. We don't know what he's going to look like. And Ryan Tannehill, we don't know what he's going to look like. He's been maintaining radio silence to the point to where people called him out because he hadn't texted Treylon Burks when he got drafted.
He has now. He has now.
Yeah, I know he has now. But that's because after multiple people say, man, where is Ryan Tannehill? He ain't talked to him yet. Don't make any sense. So Ryan Tannehill is having to realize the writing is on the wall. He's having to realize that he needs to come in here and ball out because, like you said, Jay Lou, he's not playing for the Titans this year. He's playing for the rest of the NFL, trying to get a starter's contract and everything. So we might get the be the beneficiary of that, but now we hadn't done enough. Wide receiver room is still weak.
Yeah, it is really weak, and so I really think, and Jarvis Landry is still out there. That's somebody, can work in the slot. He's a veteran receiver. Say what you will about him, but he can catch the ball. He's tough. And so, I mean, I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens starting tomorrow. There's still some linemen out there. Eric Fisher, I've talked about him before. He'll buy you a couple years. He's 31 years old. He was just coming off a Achilles injury last season. So now he have a whole full year to get back in shape, training camp and all things like that. So I don't think they did enough either. I would like to see more on the offensive side of the ball, particularly on the offensive line and receiver. And so, it's just going to be interesting to see how they go forward in the next few weeks and up into training camp. And like I said last week when we talked, quiet is kept. The beast will be 29 years old this year. He's got one more year after this on his contract. And if you remember, we talked about with J. Lou, those last 2 years of his contract were voidable. 2 guaranteed, the last 2 years voidable. And so, I'm not saying that he's gone after this year, but I'm just saying, we have to start looking at the future. Like I said, 29 this year, coming off an injury, and then next year 30. You never know. J-Rob might say, hey, it might be time to go younger at that position. And I'm not saying the King can't produce at 30 years old, because he could, and some running backs have. But all of us know by the time they hit that number 30, for some reason, the NFL running backs start going downhill. They start going downhill. Production goes downhill. His health might still be there, but he might not be able to do the things he can do right now so well. And so thank you.
I don't think you, for folks that, want to see them go out and sign some people tomorrow, give them till June 2nd. Yeah. Again, they get some money back from Julio on June 1st. And I still think there's at least 2 restructures that after June 1st can help. One being Taylor Lewan, because that was kind of been a surprise so far. But they could be just holding off until you get to that point where you get to see the money right then and there, and then make some picks. So just keep that in mind for those that saying they ain't signing nobody. They're still only the third worst cap team in the league right now at $2 million under. So June 1st will be here in another month, and I think you'll really start seeing some willing and dealing as we get closer to that training camp.
And the thing is, man, again, the one thing I will give J-Rob credit for in this offseason, he's being a lot more strategic in what he's doing, as opposed to 2 years ago when everything was just knee jerk. I think he got enamored with the fact that we had gotten so close to the AFC Championship game. We just needed a couple of pieces to get over it. He made some knee jerk reactions, and I think it came back. Of course, it came back to bite him because none of them worked out. It's the same thing with with last year. I think rolling the dice on Caleb Farley, thinking he might hit another one with like he did with Jeffrey Simmons. You saw that didn't work out. So there's a lot to be going on. I think this year, again, J-Rob used it to build to do a strategic rebuild and to bring more talent onto the team. Like you said, the King, he'll be 29 this year. He's going to be turning 30. So his production is going to drop off. He still might be effective, but everybody's not going to be Adrian Peterson at 30 and leading the league and rushing for 2,000 yards coming off a major knee surgery or whatever. But I think with Hassan Haskins, I think with him coming into the fold, I think we might see a tandem running game like we like what would help both running backs back out as far as that's concerned. And I think if they do that, I think we're going to be pretty strong on offense going forward, because as long as we can run the ball, baby.
Yeah, and you still got Dontre Hilliard for that change of pace, right? Yeah, and you got Jordan Wilkins. He might be more special teams, but there's some bodies there that can contribute. But as I look at this defense, man, I really like the defense. I really do. The potential is there of the players that are coming back: Rashad Weaver, Monty Rice, Adeniyi. You mentioned the depth of the outside linebacker rushing. And so, and if Caleb Farley can come back healthy and be better technique-wise, because we know he's got the physical gifts, right? We know he's fast, well, he can run. Yeah. It's just the technique that concerns us all. And so I'm just going to be very interested to see. But I really like what you said about Theo Jackson, J. Lou, the tight end eraser. I really like that, man. And if it turns out that way with a kid that got the speed that he does, and he's got good size, 6'1", almost 200 pounds. So you get him in the weight room, he could be easily 210. 215. He can play the slot, he can play, safety type rover star position and just be all over the field. So very good by J Rob. I give him a B plus maybe for this draft, and not too bad for building your team for the future, as we mentioned. And so once again, guys, we thank y'all for joining us for another episode of Halftime Adjustments. All the comments, questions, the love of the show, man, the support. Thank y'all for coming out tonight. Be looking out for the next show, man. The schedule comes out on May the 12th. So we're gonna have a scheduled show. We're gonna review it. We're gonna talk about, as G Witt likes to talk about, the wins and the losses. but again, thank you for joining us, man. It's Eddie out there, the G Witt, Mr. J. Lou.
Yes, sir.
For Halftime Adjustments. We are out of here. Peace.
Peace.